Here's what you can look forward to on this episode of the Nice Guys on Business.
I almost view the M&A attorney as someone that's more in a position to know more about these transactions because I've lived vicariously through so many. I may not have been the party in all those transactions, but I've lived vicariously through my clients in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, which in turn has made me a better business person as well.
In a court ruling U.S. versus Fishbein, a man subjected to potential incineration while wearing another man's suit is entitled to $10,000 worth of airline tickets. It's an obscure ruling, but a very important one to the Nice Guys on Business. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
With his unique blend of legal and business experience, Chris Johnsen, he offers solutions for entrepreneurs facing complex challenges. Armed with a law degree, an MBA, and a wealth of experience, Chris approaches problem solving with a strategic mindset tailored to meet business needs, your needs if you're listening, Nice Guy community. His primary objective remains steadfast to empower businesses to thrive and to prosper. He uses clear terms while leveraging his negotiation prowess and legal expertise to drive success. We're driving success today, Chris. It's a lot to undertake, but it's in your hands, and I have a feeling you're going to come through with flying colors. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Hey, happy to have you here, and I'm glad I finally have an attorney here that I can ask some questions about my divorce. Can I start there? No, I don't want to start about my.
Sorry, man. You can ask as many questions as you'd like. I just don't think I'm gonna have any answers. I don't do any family law or criminal law.
That's perfect. So I'll tell you that that stint in county and my ex-wives, they probably aren't going to prosper from listening to this, but that's okay because this is not a show aimed towards either drug charges or divorces. So let's talk business if you're okay with that. We have a mainly entrepreneurial audience, and I know that that's one you very much specialize in. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I specialize in that because I honestly view myself as a business person first and a lawyer second.
That's a great starting point. So, a lot of people go into law or in the professional services because they don't necessarily have that entrepreneurial spark. They want to do their own thing, but they want to do their own thing with a lot of there's the riverbanks and then there's the river. So you kind of capture both the riverbanks, the structure, and the river, the flowing aspect of business. Why was that something that you really were attracted to when you were going to school?
Well, because I really was a business person first. I was in real estate, developing retail strip centers, and we used attorneys, and I wasn't happy with some of them. I thought maybe they could have done a better job. I thought some of them were just lawyerly for the sake of being lawyerly, and it wasn't really practical, and then there were also some costs and things like that. And when it came time for deciding whether I wanted to continue past getting a bachelor's degree, because I knew if I didn't do it then, I never would. And I was like, all right, now that I like the law and this looks pretty cool. And I think, honestly, I could do a better job because I think I can understand the client better than most attorneys can understand the client, which will allow me to provide more value.
I think a lot of attorneys, at least in my experience in dealing with them over the 59 years that I've been alive, and probably the last 30 plus years of being an entrepreneur myself, I think a lot of them just lack the bedside manner that you'd want an attorney to kind of have that empathy and compassion. And watching a lot of your videos and listening to you on several podcasts, it seems like that's the area that you focus on the most. It's like people first, and then let's figure out what the problem is and help you solve it. Is that fair for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to put it. And I'm just not very lawyerly. And I get that from clients all the time. They're like, oh, you're not like a normal lawyer. You're like super cool. You're easy to talk to, easy to get along with, and I just hear that all the time. And that's just part of my personality. I didn't marry a lawyer. I am the first lawyer in my family. I never watched Law and Order and thought that it would be cool to be a lawyer. I just never did. honestly became a lawyer as more a utilitarian measure to gain a tool. And that tool doesn't always work the best. And so I think lawyers miss the mark on that too. They're biased into thinking that their hammer is the only hammer you need to use, but really there's hammers and there's screwdrivers and there's chisels and there's different tools out there, different things to use in different circumstances for a business owner.
Do you think as business owners, do most people wait too late to contact an attorney to get some help, or do you find that they're maybe in there even too early to receive an attorney's help? What are you finding is typical for those that are connecting with you?
That's interesting. I see the whole spectrum. I would say most people, and I don't want to come this across as judgy, and I really don't judge them. But it's a pattern that I see. I would call it too late, but again, I put that in air quotes because it's still the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we're starting a business, you got to be scrappy. You can't like go all out and hire a big four accounting firm to do your books and your accounting and all that stuff. If that's how you run your business before you're even making revenue or making a profit, you're going to go out of business. And so most entrepreneurs are scrappy and they learn to do things themselves. It's like a trademark of an entrepreneur that they don't teach in school is you're going to learn QuickBooks. You're going to learn maybe some about contracts. You're going to learn some about marketing because you cannot afford at that point in your journey to hire all these people. So here's the too late. And it's not too late. It's the right time. They probably reach about $1 million in revenue a year. They're feeling good. They've kind of gotten over the hump. They're seeing some extra cash. That cash is being reflected in their lifestyle. By that point, most businesses have probably done a fair amount of legal work themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Just in the contracts they put together. And it's gotten them along to that point. Now, at this point, they have this successful thing and they need to tighten it up because now it's about risk mitigation. Actually waiting too late is waiting till there's some kind of litigation event. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I do get those clients too. Fortunate for me, they end up being some of the best clients because they get so freaked out by the litigation experience and they spend so much in litigation. They're like, screw this. I am going to have Chris look at everything moving forward. So that experience turns them into a good client. But the other end of the spectrum are the people that are all about an attorney. I mean, I get them too. It's funny, and I steer them in the right direction. Unfortunately, there could be some attorneys out there that might take advantage of someone like that. But what I pretty much say is like, look, at this point, most businesses, you get your company formed, which I'm cool with the client doing that themselves too. If it's a single member, it's super easy. Their operating agreements, you don't even need one. If it's single member, if it's multiple member, okay. Now that's a more complicated contract that I do think an attorney should pay attention to. Aside from that, most businesses in the very beginning, that's all you need. You're not going to have employment agreements and independent contractor agreements. And most of your leases really aren't that negotiable, especially in the very beginning. You're going to have a personal guarantee. You're going to have a lot of these things. Even if you're dealing with MSAs, you're on the other side, they're probably not going to agree to any of your changes. It's not, and like, let's say a trademark, you don't need to trademark right off the bat. A lot of people will sell that right off the bat. As far as I'm concerned, go out there and make some money and, then come back later after you've made some money and I'll help you triage what needs to be done next.
It's funny. I always think that, look, go ahead and infringe on that copyright. It would be great if Google came after me because I've infringed upon their brand. They're sending me the cease and desist letter. I'd love to get a cease and desist letter from somebody and be able to take it to an attorney and say, what do I do now? Now, I may be the exception. I don't run afraid of every of every business that's out there that has a service that's very similar to mine. But at the same time, I don't want to be foolish either. You said a couple things, and I really wanted to expand upon it a little bit. When you said the word scrappy, I think of the word tenacious. Somebody that's a scrappy entrepreneur, somebody that's just all in their business. But I also think of this term like out of the box thinking. An out of the box thinker as an entrepreneur is pretty much the rule rather than the exception. Do you think about law as an out of the box process? I mean, everybody doesn't fit into this neat little template, or do you disagree with that?
Lawyers tend to be very analytical, and I think it's natural for them to think that it's math. It, in reality, the law is very creative. It's not like we're painting things, or that's not that kind of creativity, but most things are pretty darn gray. And it's an art figuring out where you can push in certain ways. And there's a lot of times that there really isn't much of an answer. And it's part of the lawyer's job to say a little bit more than, sorry, could go this way and that way. That's part of it. But then you got to weigh the pros and cons. You have to try to help push your client in the right direction, because yes, there's no one clear path, but they're looking to you for advice. And there's a lot of creative solutions to deal with imperfect situations.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Question for you. I know. Let's take it back to the very beginning, because I know that you were running a company that you sold, and that helped you pay your way through law school. And a lot of that has merit within an entrepreneurial community. That is, hey, I'd love to be able to buy and sell a business too, or start a business and sell it. Can you talk about that early experience and how that shaped where you headed after law school and your MBA was done?
Sure. I mean, it was a great experience. And I think part of being an entrepreneur is just doing and getting your hands messy, and things aren't going to be perfect. I'm saying this as a lawyer, which is kind of funny. But I've screwed so many things up, and I think that's just part of the entrepreneurial journey. That transaction, fortunately, never blew up, but oh my God, did I do it wrong? It was not the best. And I know so much more now. That's helped me in my entrepreneurial journey. And my journey of the law is seeing how far I've come with doing one transaction as a business person, and then doing hundreds and hundreds of transactions as an attorney on different kinds of transactions, and seeing how good transactions are done, seeing all the pitfalls, seeing what can go wrong. I love these people that sell one business and they act like they're a professional, and they can sell a bunch of businesses, and they want to get into consulting and teach people to scale and do all those things. I almost view the M&A attorney as someone that's more in a position to know more about these transactions, because I've lived vicariously through so many. I may not have been the party in all those transactions, but I've lived vicariously through my clients in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, which in turn has made me a better business person as well.
Oh, absolutely. You get into the microwave oven of seeing what success is all about when you're dealing with an M&A, because you're dealing with valuation, you're dealing with teams and processes and systems, and you're dealing with, of course, contracts and all the legalities that are involved. So I appreciate the fact that you've seen all of those transactions too. To advance me down the road, though, now I'm looking at your website. You have offices in 4 states. You have 9 or 10 attorneys that work with you under your umbrella. So talk about scaling a business to the extent where you become less of a practitioner of what you do and more of somebody that works on the business as opposed to in the business. So can you share a little of that experience and how that has helped shape your career?
So I was a partner in big law, which was very time intensive. I took a hiatus from business, and I was in big law for, I think, 9 years, close to a decade, and I made partner in 7 years. I was very much in the business. Like, I was essentially an employee, even though I was called a partner. I got burned out, and I decided, if I'm going to start my own businesses, I don't need to create another job. If I wanted a job, I'd just go get a job somewhere else. I wanted to actually create a business. So from the very, very beginning, I focused working on the business. Now, you have to be practical to some level because you got to make some money and you can't just push it out to other people. But I did make some, but probably not as much as I could, because I was constantly adding people and pushing work down and delegating work. And through that, I really believe that I helped other people succeed, people that are still on my team today. And that's the biggest obstacle to scaling, at least with what I'm doing, is finding the right people. As people in business are those two things. But to this day, I find myself working on the business. I don't know what the split's supposed to be. I'm probably breaking the rules because I spend most of my time working on the business. And that's even though I have people that I outsource for those things. It's not like I'm posting my social media and stuff like that, but I'm constantly developing strategy. I'm constantly working with the people that I have that run the administration of the business, working on culture, working on the things that I believe that the CEO of a company needs to do. And it's tricky, especially in professional services, because some clients want me. So the art of the handoff is tricky. The art of how much time to spend with the client is tricky. I don't want to double bill on everything, but I do need to account for some of my time sometimes. But I also need to roll on other attorneys, and I need to make the clients feel comfortable knowing that if they work with anyone on my team, that I know what's going on and they're being taken care of.
One of the things that you just said, which is totally appropriate for an entrepreneur, is you're breaking the rules if there is any rule to be broken. Like, what's the right mix? I don't know that there is a right mix. I know that when I find that I step outside of my zone of genius, the thing that really drives me the most, whether it's doing these podcast episodes, building relationships, selling, those are the things that I really love doing. The things I can't stand doing, and I even put them right in my email. It's like Doug doesn't like long emails. He doesn't like spreadsheets. He doesn't like all of the shit that I want to leave to somebody else to do. That's on my team. That not because it's shit work. It's legit work, but it's one that I don't excel at. So I'm curious, what if you had to eliminate a responsibility, something that it's like, why the fuck am I doing that? That you could say, hey, I shouldn't be in this. I'm going to get out of this. What is this for your own business? And I know we just took a right turn there, but I'm really curious because you did give me the open door. You said, I don't know what the proper mix is. I don't know either, but let's figure it out together. What are you doing that you shouldn't be doing?
Oh, well, I don't do it there, but I did in the past a little bit, not much. I do know how to do everything in my business. That's one of my rules. Even when I was like at the big law firms, I decided I need to know how to send a fax, even though I have assistants that could send it for me, because there might be a time when that assistant's not around. So with that said, I know how to do everything in the business. I've done it at least a little bit, even if I just do it once and send it out.
Right.
QuickBooks, I hate the books. Absolutely hate the books. And that's something that I pretty much delegated out from the very beginning. And the bear just to hire a full-time bookkeeper, then it was my wife. She helped a lot with the books, but that's just something, and it's weird because I majored in finance, but I cannot deal with the tedium of just matching that stuff up. Can't do it. But now what I do, I look at my numbers, I analyze my numbers. And that's something that I think a CEO should do, is know their numbers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you have to know the overall business, where the business is coming from, the forecasting and all of that, but to spend time in the tedium of the numbers, the balancing, the checkbook, the paying of the bills, the invoice. And I know that there is a certain degree of that stuff that likes to be overseen and you do want to watch, but actually doing the work, always find is totally not in my zone of genius. And I find like I put myself in a position to do that stuff sometimes. And I'm like, I'm not only not enjoying it, but it's taking away from the time that the stuff that I like to do. And it's a downer. It really just, it doesn't drive my engine at all. And you're probably the same way as an entrepreneur, it sounds like.
For sure. 100%.
So for those that are in our audience that may want to connect with you, if you had to list maybe 3 to 5 hey, these are the things that I know that this is really the stuff that if you contact us, this is the stuff that I know that we'll be able to make some headway on. And I know that you're offering to my community, which is wonderful, a free 15-minute consult so they can actually get some legal questions answered for you. What would you hope that call would look like in terms of subject matter?
One of my favorite things to do is, and we wouldn't be able to get this done on 15 minutes, but we could talk about it for 15 minutes. And then if the relationship was right, then we can move on to like a full hour. But I love doing an audit of the business and where the business is at. I do this quite a bit. And it happens pretty much with those businesses that are at, like I said, that $1 million mark-ish. They're starting to feel good. They're starting to think, you know what, we can really spend some money on legal. And I go in, I meet with the clients, and it doesn't have to be in person, right? So they could be anywhere in the country. We have a video call, and I will ask them about what contracts they use. I'll ask them about their corporate structure. I'll ask the individual owners if they've done their estate planning and asset protection to protect them personally. I really do this holistic thing. It's like going in for an annual physical, and I look at the whole picture of what's going on, and I build a list of things that I think they need to do, and I help the client triage it by order of importance. I'm a big believer in not doing too much all at the same time. So I'll just say, look, here's the most important thing. You agree, and we'll start there. And then once we do that, we'll move on to the next thing, and we move on to the next thing. That's my absolute favorite thing to do. And in doing that, and part of the reason I like it is because I get to learn about the client's business. I get to really interact with the client. And I feel like I really, in that hour amount of time or whatever it would take for me to really dig in, I can really add value to that business and help steer it in a direction that maybe it's never gone before.
Excellent. Well, I do appreciate you sharing that very much. And again, Nice Guy Community, I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes so that you have access to the set up the free 15-minute consult. It's johnsonlaw.com. It's JOHNSEN law.com. But we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes so you don't have to remember how to spell that. Chris, thanks so much for sharing your message. Thanks for being here on the show today, and thanks for sharing all your wonderful your expertise with our audience today.
Thanks, Doug. Lovely being here.
Hey, for those in our community, again, check the show notes for all the information. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Don't underestimate the power of nice.